Hi, welcome to Open a Book. Today we're going to open the book, The Beauty and the Beast. Open a book and experience the world like you never have before. Many of us have recently seen the new live Disney production of Beauty and the Beast. However, as much as I love that movie, and I won't lie, I really do love that movie, as cheesy as it was, considering the real story of Beauty and the Beast. I did fall in love with Emma Watson as Beauty, and I did fall in love with the Beast. How could you not fall in love with him in that movie? Let me tell you how this all started for me. I hadn't been reading in quite some time because my life just doesn't allow me that opportunity to really sit down and get engrossed in a book. And I am making sure that that changes in my life, as I said in my first video about Open a Book. The reason for that is I just find so much joy in reading. I find that it helps me escape the way nothing else can. Reading is not something that you can do mindlessly. You really have to put your whole self into it. You really have to give your imagination a chance to grow. You have to give yourself this opportunity to get to know the characters, to feel the scenery around you, to make it a part of your world. Whether you're sitting on the couch or you're sitting outside in the sun, and we have snow today, so that's not a possibility, but if it's summertime, it's always a great time to read outside. So wherever you are, you can escape to this whole new world that most of us just can't afford to ever go. And sometimes they're just an imaginary land, like Beauty and the Beast. Now, what got me started on this is I had the original version for Disney for Beauty and the Beast for the new live production with Emma Watson on my wish list for Netflix. However, I also must have put on a different version, which was a French version. The first night that I watched it about 2 months ago, I was struck by the French story. Now, this was my first encounter with Beauty and the Beast. Keep in mind, I had never read the story before. I've never seen the movie. I don't know anything about the story besides teacups singing and all of this weird nonsense in the cartoon. It never really appealed to me. When I saw the French version, it had English dubbing on top of it, but it was more of an English accent, which was fine with me. And it really wasn't so bad that you were like, I can't watch that because the words aren't matching the mouth. But the story was amazing. So then I decided, I watched it twice, and I really loved this story, the French version of Beauty and the Beast on Netflix. It was incredibly beautiful. So then I decided that I would see what the contrast was between that version and the Disney version. It is really quite different. However, I will tell you that the Disney version allowed me an opportunity to love the Beast, to want to cheer for him, to want to really have hope for him and Beauty to get together. The French version didn't really do that for me. I really didn't feel like there was much reason to love him. So it was a little different. I felt like the French version was a little bit more enticing. The visuals were beautiful. The story seemed to flow beautifully. But the Disney version gave me a reason to feel for all of the characters. And that is how my adventure in Beauty and the Beast started. Then I decided that I needed to learn more about this story, and where was Disney coming up with their idea of Beauty and the Beast versus what's the original version of Beauty and the Beast. I then found out that the French version on Netflix isn't even the original either. Beauty and the Beast is one of those legendary folklores that was just a verbal story told down from generation to generation. And eventually it was written by a French woman whose name I'm probably really going to mess up. Gabrielle Suzanne Barbeau de Villeneuve. I probably really mess that up because it is French, as you can see. I originally bought the version on Kindle. Now, if you are looking to read the classics like I am, you may want to go on Kindle and just do a search for some of the classics that you're interested in. There are a lot of Kindle versions that are 60 cents to 99 cents. That's how I found this version on Kindle for 99 cents. As I began to read the story, I was immediately engrossed in the entire idea of Beauty's family and the Beast. The story is so different that no one has ever told it from its original story, which I find so heartbreaking. I can't tell you how heartbreaking it is to know that so many people have strayed from the original, that the original is really quite lost. Yes, there is beauty. Yes, there is a beast, but the story behind the beast has never been told properly. And that's really a shame. And the story of beauty has never really been told properly. And you can't really convey the idea of what Beauty and the Beast really is about unless you read the story. You really can't. Oh yes, looks are deceiving. No, it goes so much more than that. It talks about beauty in the world, not just beauty that we see in our appearances and in human form, but the beauty all around us. It talks about the beauty of the arts, theater, opera, music, animals. It's just so amazing how beautiful this book is. The story is beautiful. And that's the whole concept of Beauty and the Beast. It's about beauty in the world and how we are so sucked into ourselves that we can't even see the beauty around us. Now this book, it's a hard find. I went to Barnes & Noble's a couple weeks ago and could not find the original. And I was very heartbroken by that. But you know what, I still love my Kindle version and really kind of gobbled that up very quickly and was very excited by it. But I really wanted a hard copy. I'm sorry, I love my Kindle, I do. I love ebooks, I do, because you can get them really super cheap. However, I really love holding a book in my hand. Who doesn't love to just sit and read a book? Seriously, you cannot find this feeling anywhere else. And then of course there's always the smell of a book, right? I went online because again, I have been inspired by Lucy the Reader's channel here on YouTube and decided that I was going to try out one of the illustrated classics that she talked about, Pride and Prejudice, which I have ordered and have not received yet. As I was scrolling along through Amazon, looking at a lot of these classics that have been reimagined or illustrated, I was putting a lot of them on my wish list, and I had been on Amazon for a good 20 minutes just looking at all the classics and the different illustrated versions of them, because some of them have been illustrated in the 1800s, some of them were illustrated in the 1950s, but recently the new idea of illustration has really evolved and taken on something that I am really, utterly enthralled with. I cannot express to you enough just how much I love these new illustrated versions, especially by Harper Design. Seriously, Harper Design, you have mastered this. You have done an amazing job, and I just can't express to you enough how much I am grateful for Harper Design, one of my new favorites and a classic. It was written in the 1800s by the French author. And what I love about what Harper Design has done is that they have illustrated this book beautifully. Let me take you through some of the beautiful pages. Each chapter has a beautiful illustration, and then you will see this Beauty and the Beast right in the crease of the binding. I don't know what publishers began thinking when they started doing adult version books. Did they think that we no longer needed pictures, that we didn't want illustrations, that we were too old for that kind of stuff? Well, let me tell you, I am not too old. This book has brought so much joy to me. I have been giddy for an entire day. I just got it yesterday, and I am almost halfway through the book already. And when I get to a place where there is one of the most beautiful illustrations or one of the fun elements of the book, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, I get giddy. I get so excited, and I just can't get enough of this. And I truly believe that as adults, we still seek that desire to see the story too, to have an image in our mind that we can kind of grasp onto, something that we can visualize, and it's not just our own imagination. We don't want the whole story told to us in pictures, but we do want something that continues that creative imagination explosion within us and within the story. Now, Harper Design has done something incredibly unique. They have included what's called illustrated elements. I knew the story already because I had read the Kindle version. So I knew what the story was, and I was really happy to find out that it is the story on Kindle. So it is the original version of Beauty and the Beast, which just thrilled me to death. But what's really cool, if you know the original story, and you may not, there's some really cool stuff that happens in the story. So let's take a look at some of the pictures that I took inside the book. To amuse herself in her hours of relaxation, she would dress her hair with flowers, and like the shepherdesses of former times, forgetting in a rural life all that had almost gratified her in the height of opulence, every day brought to her some new, innocent pleasure. But if he had immense wealth, he had also a great many children, his family consisting of 6 boys and 6 girls. None of them were settled in life. The boys were too young to think of it, the girls too proud of their fortunes, upon which they had every reason to count on, could not easily determine upon the choice they should make. In a country very far from this is to be seen a great city, wherein trade flourishes abundantly. It numbered amongst its citizens a merchant, who succeeded in all his speculations, and upon whom fortune, responding to his wishes, had always showered her fairest favors. She was a perfectly beautiful young creature. Her good temper rendered her adorable. A generous and tender heart was visible in all her words and action. Quite as much alive to the reverse that had just overwhelmed her family as any of her sisters, by a strength of mind which is not common in her sex, she concealed her sorrow and rose superior to her misfortunes. By this charming light, the father and daughter found themselves in an avenue of orange trees. The moment that they entered it, the fireworks ceased. The illumination was, however, continued by all the statues having in their hands lighted torches. Besides these, lamps without number covered the front of the palace. In spite of her agitation at the approach of an event which, according to all appearances, was about to be fatal to her, she could not avoid paying attention to the magnificent objects which succeeded each other, and presented her view the most beautiful spectacle she had ever seen, nor help saying to her father that the preparation for her death were more brilliant than the bridal pomp of the greatest king in the world. There must be no pretext, interrupted the beast. I expect that whichever daughter you bring here, she will come willingly, or I will not have either of them. The order, the abundance, the good taste that was discernible through his palace were not, according to his thinking, the work of a fool. In fact, he found him worthy of the consideration of his daughter, and Beauty might have felt more inclined to listen to the monster, had not her nocturnal lover's appearance thrown an obstacle in her way. The first of the other 3 afforded her the pleasure of witnessing Italian comedy, the second, a sight of the Tuileries, the resort of all the most distinguished and handsome of both sexes. The last window was very far from being the least agreeable. It enabled her to see everything of consequence that was going on in the world. The scene was amusing and interesting in all sorts of ways. Sometimes it was the reception of a grand embassy, at others the marriage of some illustrious personages, and occasionally some exciting revolutions.
so delightful of life ought to have perfectly contented her, but we weary of everything. The greatest happiness fades when it is continual, derived always from the same source, and we find ourselves exempted from fear and from hope. It is much better to have an amiable husband than one whose only recommendation is a handsome person. How many girls are compelled to marry rich brutes, much more brutish than the beast, who is only one in form and not in his feelings or his actions? "Ha!" exclaimed Beauty almost angrily. "Know that I would lay down my life to save his, and that this monster, who is only one in form, has a heart so humane that he should not be persecuted for a deformity which he refrains from rendering more hideous by his actions. I will not repay his kindness with such black ingratitude." For you, Queen, the little value you set upon virtue, unadorned by the vain titles which alone you respect, would justify me in heaping on you the bitterest reproaches. He must have remained in the horrible shape to which he had been transformed, had he not found in the world one person who possessed virtue and courage equal to her beauty. They love each other, and nothing is wanting to their perfect happiness.
As you can see, this book is full of unique, cool, interactive elements that really allow you to experience the book, to be a part of the book, to be a part of the fun of the book. Please, publishers, please catch on to this trend, because this will make me want to read the classics much more than just words on a page, page after page after page. This made me feel like I could be a part of the book, that I could interact with the story, that I could interact with Beauty, that I could be a part of their world, truly be a part of their world. Publishers, don't think that because we're adults that our senses don't want to be appealed to. Our senses are heightened when we can see colors and we can feel like we belong and part of the world of the story in which we're reading. I'm sorry, but yes, I'm almost 50 years old and I still love story time at the library. Why? Because I love the colors. I love the way that new authors and illustrators are doing children's books, because they are appealing not only to children, but to adults as well. The humor in them, the colors, the story that you get to hear and read, also correlating with the illustrations is amazing. Just because we're adults doesn't mean that we don't still long to have that childlike feeling of exploring books and stories that gives us vivid, lively pictures, that helps the story move along at a pace that increases our imagination. I hope that more books will start to take pace with Harper Design. not just with illustrations, but adding these interactive elements that make the story feel like you are a part of it. I cannot tell you how exciting this process of reading this book has been. I have just been devouring it, and I can't get enough of it. And I know that if you get this book as well, I got it on Amazon. Now you'll see that the price here is pretty expensive. It's almost $30 in the United States. However, I got it on Amazon for $13 with my Prime membership. It was so worth every penny. I would actually spend the $30 on this, knowing what I know now. And the reason why you're spending so much is because there's so much cool elements. As you can see, the book doesn't close like a regular book because there's a lot of interactive elements here. Let's open it up to this one here. This one's so cool because it gives us this open door, as you can see, but then it comes out so that you get this whole experience of the rooms. How amazing is that, right? Seriously, love it. I just absolutely love this. And I really want more publishers to start taking the classics to this new level. Publishers, you need to make literature user-friendly, interactive, involving, engrossing, enticing. And this has done it for me. Just so you know, Harper Design has also done the classics Peter Pan and the Jungle Book, which we will be buying very soon. So don't forget to find some time today and open a book.